Okay, so have you been to a chiropractor?
Never.
Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to start off asking you a few questions about your pain. So from the form, I can see that you're suffering from your hip. There's pain on your hip and your shoulders.
Yeah.
So if you give me a little bit of background, how long have you had hip pain for?
Probably for about 8 years now. I always stand to one side, and when I did yoga years ago, the lady always said, pull yourself upright and stand tall as if your spine's extended. And I don't know, you kind of always put your weight to one side. And then when I had 2 children, I carry them on my left hip.
Okay.
So again, that kind of pushes it. And I see when I'm not holding them, I still stand like a banana. And then with the shoulders, when I do weights and things and lifting children, it just kind of grinds and feels a bit sort of clicky. I've had massages before that's identified it as a weak point.
So can we start off, how old are your kids? When did you give birth?
2007 was my 6-year-old daughter, and 2012 almost 2-year-old son now.
Lovely. And did you give birth naturally or via?
Yeah, naturally, both.
Did you suffer from any back problems during your pregnancy or just straight after the delivery?
No back problems, just sort of achy spine really from, like, I guess, being pregnant and putting on so much weight.
So you always used to carry kids that was natural on the left, for you on the left?
I can't do it on the right at all. It's just impossible. It's so alien and doesn't fit right. So
there's always one side
one way.
You do tend to favour. Most people do. And with your hip, so when you get pain with weakness, is there a tightness and a weakness there all the time, or do you have good days, bad days? How do you tend to feel it?
It's just kind of grindy really, and not as comfortable as it used to be. I wouldn't say I was in pain. It's just a kind of mild discomfort really. And when I do yoga and things, it pops and makes a load of noise as opposed to the other side.
Do you find any other postures or movements tend to cause the same sensation?
Not really. I just slouch all the time. It's really bad.
No, you do slouch.
Oh yeah, I love to slouch. I prefer to sort of be rolled up in a ball than to sit upright. So I don't know if that's just kind of throwing off to compensate for it.
But usually that's what it is. Is this a problem you have every day? Do you have some days or weeks where actually you feel
when I have my period, it's quite noticeable. Just because then I always have like lower back pain anyway.
Have you always had low back pain?
Yeah, with periods, yeah. But kind of day to day, you just kind of get used to it really, and you kind of compensate by standing differently, and then you realise you look like a hunchback, and then you think, oh god, I should do something about it.
Has it got worse and more pronounced as the years have gone on?
I think as the children got older and I picked them up, it's kind of just added to it, and before you know, you stand in the mirror and you're kind of, ooh. Yeah.
What do you like at night when you're sleeping? Is it uncomfortable?
I toss and turn quite a lot, yeah. I like to sleep on my side, kind of in the fetal position, I guess. And always on my left side, so it's always the way my hip is. I kind of want to realign it, I guess, like when I'm sleeping.
And when you like the first thing in the morning when you get up, do you feel tighter? Does it feel like it pops, or do you not?
No, not really. There's no
time of day that it doesn't tend to get worse at this time.
No.
And when you have your yoga class, and obviously you're aware of the popping, does it actually? Do you find yoga relieves it? Do you feel better? Does it help your alignment? Do you find that you're quite?
I guess for a while,
yeah.
But then afterwards, you kind of get back into life again, don't you? Yeah.
So what kind of exercise do you do on a regular basis?
I do various things. Like normally I just walk and kind of daily activities, but every now and then I do kind of extreme workouts where I'm combat and martial arts and things like that. So that's quite an intense 3-month program, and then after that I'll go a few months without.
So you do those intense ones that take you to
Yeah.
And is yoga something that you think that be quite consistent? Is that a weekly thing? Or?
Well, it's what I do through the intense workouts, so it would be for so many months at a time and then I stop. I've just tried Pilates for the first time, and that kind of really identified my hip problem.
What did you think with Pilates?
Yeah, it was really good. Absolutely loved it. It didn't put me in pain, it just made it more kind of
you're aware because if you do something, you can feel the difference between your right side, which is perhaps freer to your left, and perhaps you found that you had more.
The mobility and everything was completely different.
Did you find again, because often with Pilates people will find that again their posture corrects
changes
quite well. And did you find that perhaps works a bit better than the yoga exercise?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's more mobility in it. And it was really good. But again, it's only like half an hour at a time, and then you kind of go back again, don't you?
Exactly. So, shoulders. Would you say again it's similar length of time, about 8 years or so? You've been aware of the grinding tension.
Yeah.
Do you feel so? Does it tend to feel it around the tops of your shoulders? Does it go down your neck?
It's kind of tight there, and I find like when I put my arms back like that, you just kind of want to keep going as if you're a bird flying or something.
So, does that actually feel like a release?
It's lovely doing that. Yeah. And when I had a massage, I was told I had lots of knots and tension and everything.
So the massage helped for a little.
Yeah, and then I went back to weightlifting in children and things like that. So it kind of messed it up again. Yeah.
So we're going to go through your past medical history. The reason is that certain people have pains that are linked to medical conditions, but also some people have underlying medical conditions that can be relevant to the type of treatments. We might have to change them around a little bit. Now, can you tell me a little bit about the car accident? How long ago was that?
Oh gosh, I was pregnant with my daughter, so that would have been 6.5 years ago, nearly 7 years ago.
And were you stationary at the time?
Yeah, and a car went into the back of us, and the seatbelt pulled on my chest. It wasn't a massive impact, it was just the tension, I think, from being pregnant at the time. But
did you feel that, did you have any tension or aches in your neck? Did you feel a bit?
Kind of, but I thought that was down to being pregnant and having backaches and a big belly. I was about 7 months pregnant then. Yeah, there could have been an underlying thing that caused my shoulders. I'm not sure really.
And so with just an idea of stresses and strains, obviously you're looking after your 2 kids, so you're quite active.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I take with the job now as well, are you quite computer based?
Yeah, leaning over, not sitting very well.
This is the front part of your spine here, and this is the back. So the back of your spine here, these bits represent the bony bits that you would feel if you were to ride your fingers down the back. Exactly, yeah. So both parts, they have completely different functions. So as you can see, this part of your spine here is a lot thicker and chunkier than the back of your spine. The reason is that this part of your spine is designed for weight bearing. Okay. So it's designed to support your body weight. Anything that you pick up and lift, the load should go through here. So as you can see, these are the bodies of the vertebrae, and because they're bigger, they can support weight. And in between the vertebrae, you've got your discs. They act as shock absorbers in the spine. So they're made up of, they've got a really thick gel inside, and they're surrounded by rings of cartilage fibres that keep the gel in the middle. Now these yellow bits here, they represent the nerve roots that branch off the spinal cord. So the spine's job is to protect your spinal cord, so that's the yellow bit in here that runs inside. And where the vertebrae actually connect onto one another, they form little exit holes in which the nerve roots can come out. So as the nerves come out, they travel to different parts of your body. They actually split into hundreds of branches, and they all send messages from the brain to the eye, and obviously we'll get the feedback through. But one of the main things is if you do have problems, the main spinal nerves, as I said, that particularly the lower back, run through into the legs, and if there was something irritating the nerve root, either if the disc gets damaged, the gel actually comes out, and it gets trapped, and it irritates the nerve root. Obviously you haven't got those symptoms, so that's really, really good. So then we move on to the back of your spine. Your shoulder blades will sit about here and here. So if you wanted to bend down to pick something up, what would happen is the vertebrae are designed to move on top of one another like that. You've got the movement, and as you can see here, they can turn from side to side, so they can twist and turn, and they can bend. So what we have in the body is we have a connective tissue called ligaments. They're like a band of fibres, and they're made up of hundreds and hundreds of fibres. They're very, very tough because they have to connect and hold everything in place. So the ligament in the spine would connect from here to here, here to here. So you've got
rubber bands.
Exactly. They're very tough, but that's it. With the rubber band, that's it. They have to be flexible. They have to stretch.
Yeah.
If they didn't stretch properly, your joints would literally be stuck. They wouldn't move very well. And that's when you can get the pain. So when you get pain, you get discomfort. Normally, it's to do with, in your case, it's your ligaments have lost some of their stretch. And ligaments basically they get irritated by either being compressed too much or by being pulled or overstretched beyond its natural capability. They're very good, they've got a lot of stretch going forward and back, particularly with twisting movements. Our ligaments don't have a lot of capability to twist. During pregnancies and through delivery, obviously your pelvis low back would have gone under a lot of stress. As the baby grows and gets heavy, the C-shaped curve increases. So as you can see here, your body weight shifts more to the back. So what you're doing is you're overloading. The weight's going through to the joints that aren't designed to take the weight. So the ligaments are getting compressed. So that bruises the fibres a little bit. They get irritated, they stiffen up just to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Because your pelvic joints need to open up. So then your ligaments are getting stretched and pulled through delivery, and then when you've got a baby, you've you've obviously got to bend a lot lower, to get them in and out of car seats. Again, with car seats, that's really a problem for people's backs, because
it's like holding the weight away from you.
Exactly.
Wow. So you put our backs through a lot, don't we?
You do put your backs through a lot. The thing is with the car seat, they're quite heavy. So as the baby gets bigger as well, you've got this car seat, you've got to twist, you've got to get the.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they have better models now. You can click into the seat. They used
still
to be a lot more
difficult though, like holding it away
and
walking
away
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that's another thing. The more you're holding something away from you, if you take the weight of what you're holding, times that by 4, that's the load that goes through your spine. So then your ligaments are getting overpulled and overstretched. The fibers just getting pulled. They're getting inflamed. They're getting irritated. You might even get little micro tears. So it's not an actual tear of the ligament.
It's still a damage.
But it weakens it, and again the ligaments just stiffen and go into spasm. So you might have a good 80-90% movement in your ligaments, but that little bit of tightness. It builds up. Yeah, it builds up and it creates that discomfort, that tightness. As the ligaments get weaker and tighter, your body tends to get you to lean away from the area that's tight, just to.
And then before you know it, you've kind of ended up affecting so many areas from one small fault.
Exactly. And as we can see, you picked it up yourself when we were leaning back. You're more aware of problems on the right, because your right has been compensating over the years. So actually, there's a lot of tension through your right. But when I had you lying down on the bench, when I was pressing onto your spine, what I'm looking for is I'm looking to see how much bounce of spring there is in the joint. And often as well, if there isn't much bounce of spring, if it's quite hard or quite tight, you'll feel a bit of tenderness or discomfort, which you did. So in your spine, there's 5 vertebrae that make up your lower back. It's where the bottom vertebra joins onto the base of your spine. This is an area that does tend to get hit the most, because that's the point where we tend to bend and twist from the most. When you were pregnant, again, a lot of the weight would have really compressed around this area. So that was the one that's really, really stuck on the left. And you've also on the right hand side got some restricted movement around your pelvis. When I had a look further up, and again with your shoulders, obviously, I would say that some of the tension going through is to do with, again,
twisting and turning
with the kids and the babies, but working on the sofa, your laptop hunched forward, overstretches and pulls. So again, you're putting stress through that area. And again, what's happened is it's overstretched. The ligaments have really stiffened up, and it's created a lot of muscle tension. So what we do, if you can imagine, if the joint's not moving properly, we physically have to free up the joint. So what we do is we take the joint and we move it within its normal range of movement.
Yeah.
And what that does is it just helps to realign and stretch the ligament fibers, because as they tighten, the fibers tend to curl up and knot up.
Okay, so you're just putting it back to where it should be, allowing it to have that freedom.
Exactly. We'll get it moving. What you can sometimes hear, you can hear some clicking with the joint, and it's not your bones snapping or grating. So that helps people. The noise is actually there's fluid inside the joints. And when we move the joint, the quicker we move it, the less force we have to put through the joint. But that change in pressure in the joint causes the gas bubbles to pop. So that's the sound. It's not a painful thing, but it's some people's joints are louder than others, so it can be a bit,
unexpected. Not what you're doing.
Unexpected. Yeah. I like to do some massage before I manipulate, because I always find if your joints aren't moving properly, the ligaments are stiffened up. The muscles around the joint are having to pull to try and get the joint to move, because the ligaments aren't actually doing the work. Part of what we do is we actually press on the muscles. These little knots form in the muscles when they get tense. By pressing on the knot, the trigger point, it actually releases the tension. It can be a little bit tender to push, but it will release it.
Helps it.
People can actually feel a bit sore after the treatment. It usually will hit you a day or 2 after treatment. When we're freeing things up, particularly in your case, they've been stuck for a good 8 years. Muscle ligaments are quite tense. There can be inflammation, bruising just trapped in there. When we're stretching it all out, we improve the circulation to the area. It's just getting rid of everything.
Kind of clearing it.
The other thing is your pain can move around a little bit. So obviously you're aware of the discomfort on your left. It might go more to the midline. Often as it heals, it goes back to the centre. But sometimes it can even move over to the sides that have overcompensated. So if you find that you feel a bit freer, but it moves over there.
That's completely normal. It's just healing into it. And
exactly. So it might move around a little bit. If you do feel better, usually because you've had this going on for a few years, you might feel good for a day, a few days, and then it might start to tighten back up to how it used to be. It takes a few weeks to correct the ligaments. So what tends to happen is after a few days, the ligaments tend to tighten back up. But once we manipulate a few times, the ligaments start to get strong. They're holding the movements.
Oh wow, yeah, then it stays that way. And so it's just maintaining it and making sure it doesn't go back.
Exactly, and particularly if you're going to start some Pilates classes, that will really make a big difference. That will help you strengthen and stabilise everything.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So I've just had my first ever chiropractic appointment, and it was amazing. It didn't hurt. Having the children, having them on my hips, doing weightlifting, it all kind of builds the pressure. And I know that I've been compensating by leaning over on one side, standing differently, punching when I'm working at the laptop and things. So as Anne said, it's all about preventing a problem from developing into pain and having a disability. So in freeing up my muscles and having proper alignment, hopefully I've avoided doing damage to myself in the future, and making them small changes like sitting properly, doing different exercises at home. It can all help.